Je anilo premadano karma kacho
I'd like to ask you to sip water to be kind.
So you both are parents of the bride and groom have been welcome, but again, it's a very pleasure that you're able to be here with us and to have this wedding ceremony performed in this temple. I've been asked to speak about the importance of marriage in the tradition that we live by. Not just in our own tradition, but I think in any tradition in the world. Marriage is the basis of society. The earth is fruitful, and marriages are meant to be fruitful. Bear the fruit of children, to sustain life, to support life, and because of sacred marriages, all of the society's members are nourished and maintained. In today's society, marriages take place and they're often broken because the husband and wife do not understand that marriage is meant to be an offering unto God. The husband and wife should see each other as life's companions in serving together the Supreme Lord. There are many wonderful examples in all of the scriptures of the world of how a husband and wife's loyalty and faithfulness to each other are tested. And the moral of the stories is to demonstrate that through thick and thin, through all sorts of difficulties, husband and wife should be there to support each other. They should be fulfilling to each other in so many relationships. Sometimes they have to be like friends with each other. Sometimes they have to be sympathetic, even offering fatherly and motherly affection in times of a person feeling downcast, to encourage each other. In so many different ways, they have to be there for each other. And all of these things are very much necessary in a Krishna conscious marriage as in any other marriage. Perhaps what distinguishes a Krishna conscious marriage is the importance in which we place God in the center of the marriage. From the time we wake up in the morning, we begin by offering our obeisance to the Supreme Lord. And at night, we end the day with the same, thanking Krishna or God for his kindness and protection and provision within our lives. It's a very stark contrast to the way in which marriages are sometimes portrayed in movies, in which God is not at the center of the marriage. And it's difficult because we have been open to all sorts of impressions by watching movies or just in our daily intercourse with life. There are many negative examples. And we shouldn't bring those with us into this marriage. There are many outstanding examples, and I take it that your own parents are such examples for you to emulate. And there are many wonderful examples within Scripture also of husbands and wives and families and how to raise a family. When our founder, Srila Prabhupada, first came to America, being a renounced monk, traditionally it was expected that his disciples would also be renounced monks. But he announced that his intention was to see all of his disciples get married, because he felt that this was the most natural and suitable arrangement for a person to practice spiritual life within. There's a word in Sanskrit, ashram. Ashrama means a place of spiritual residence. And in the Krishna conscious lifestyle, the householder, the married couple's place of residence, is supposed to be open for all persons. For example, when the cooking is completed, the householder is supposed to lean out of the door and say, in a sense, if anyone needs to be fed, please come. Of course, today, I don't know if one would want to risk doing that. Imagine in New York City doing something like that. England is a bit more safe. Anywhere else it could be risky. But the point is that I recall when I first went to India, I saw an old man, and he was strewing gram flour on the ground. And I thought that he must be crazy. Why would anyone want to take edible flour that could be, kneaded into dough and made into bread and strewing it on the ground like this? So through an interpreter, I inquired why he was doing this, and it was explained that he had taken a vow to feed 10,000 living entities each day. And since he didn't have the means to feed 10,000 humans, at least he was strewing the gram flour on the ground so that ants and other insects would be fed. And this typifies the idea behind married life. It is said that a married person is meant to give in charity to others. And so a householder couple should give in charity. Well, I know something of this couple, and I suspect that it may not be in their stars to become millionaires. But they have a certain wealth that I feel confident, is worth far more than what money can purchase. They're both very special in their devotion, in their knowledge, and in their loving concern for others. And the greatest gift that one can give in charity, truly speaking, is to help a person to become free from their suffering. Of course, we're all sitting here in an air-conditioned room, and some of us have seats to sit on, and others are sitting on the floor, and we don't feel much difficulty. But if we really are more reflective, we would admit that there are problems in life. Each one of us is moving towards getting older. We don't get younger by the day, we get older. And, life passes by, illnesses come, and other things come, and we suffer. We suffer from our bodies, from our minds. We suffer in terms of other living beings that we have to interact with, and sometimes from natural disturbances. If we search for the root cause of suffering, a simple thing might be to say that we suffer as a result of being in this world. Meaning that suffering is a concomitant factor of life. As joy may be, but so is suffering. And the cause of suffering, at least according to our scripture, is finally our ignorance. Now, it may be difficult to see how ignorance is connected to suffering, but from our perspective, when we ignore our relationship with God, we find ourselves in this world. And when we recognize our relationship with God, we're able to return to the kingdom of God, the spiritual world. So we would evaluate the basis of suffering to have arisen from ignorance. And therefore, we would consider the greatest charity to be dispelling ignorance. Or, stated more positively, to give people transcendental knowledge about spiritual life. So I feel confident that this couple will be able to do that. They can give that charity, which is considered the best of all charities, and in that way, fulfill their obligation as householders. Sometimes it is said when parents give away a daughter, and they say, we lose a daughter, but then you could say, I gained a son. And from my perspective, Kostuba was a monk for a disciple of mine for 13 years. And so when he said to me that he wanted to change ashrams, I thought, oh, I'm losing my best brahmachari, my best celibate student monk disciple. And I had not met his wife to be until 2 days ago. But now I've come to realize that I'm not losing a son, but gaining a spiritual daughter. And I feel far better off than had it been the other way. I always thought it would be very difficult to find a lady that was as qualified as he was. But he did find such a person, there's no doubt in my mind. She's so highly qualified. And I think that I would be expressing everybody's feelings here, saying that we're all very pleased and happy to see this marriage taking place. Very pleased, and I'm sure both families are, and similar to spiritual families, very, very pleased. I don't know what else I can say besides what I now said. One further thing is that I also think that this marriage allows me to come very close to your spiritual master. And I'm going to take this as a indication. I have so many invitations from all of my closest godbrothers. It's a very amazing thing, but they've all sung the praises of your Guru to me in the last year or two. And now with this marriage taking place, he and I add another, feature to our relationship. And so I'm going to make this an opportunity and a reason for finding a way to spend time with him. And I always hope that on your altar, when you see our pictures, that you will think of us as very close brothers who are sitting in Vrindavan at Govardhan and looking over the two of you. I think I won't say more of this. You're not living any longer in New York, I've understood. But originally you were. And of course I'm from New York. And now I'm living in England. So I am a suitable person to perform this ceremony. England is a very fine place. And I understand that your daughter was brought up in Sri Lanka. I've never been there, but I know that it's also had, I'm sure, had a very deep effect on it. I don't know how long we lived in Sri Lanka. 18 years, so it had a very deep effect. Yeah, it seems that you have all the best impressions were made upon you. English blood, brought up in Sri Lanka, very good combination. My spiritual master, Prabhupada, he sent his disciple, who was an Englishman, to preach. And he said to him, you should go forward with the heart, with the courage of an Englishman, and the heart of a Indian mother. So I think you're what the Prabhupada was. Courage of an Englishman and the heart of a Sri Lankan. So I won't say further, but very happy that I could be part of this ceremony. Nartan, you want to take some now?
So we'd like to ask Teacher Priya's parents and fathers in particular to repeat this offering. This would be actually. Today I select Sriman Kastubadas as a suitable husband. As a suitable husband. To whom I shall give my daughter, Srimati Gita Priya Devi Dasi, in sacred marriage. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Ramanuja Guru to hand these flower petals out to everyone here. And when they exchange the wedding rings, everyone can shower them with flowers also. Now I have to ask Krishna Guru, please repeat. Sriman Kastubadas, I can just ask you this is a question. Sriman Kastubadas, do you accept Srimati Gita Priya Devi Dasi as your wife and promise to protect her in her material and spiritual life and to remain faithful to her? John. Srimati Gita Priya Devi Dasi, do you accept as your suitable husband Sriman Kastubadas, and you promise to assist him in his material and spiritual life and to be chaste and faithful to him? Could you move this? If you could place your hands into Kastuba's right hand. And then both of you can come and put your hands beneath. You can also and put your hands beneath Kastuba's hand that you receive into your family and walk in with us. Yeah, that's Okay. Now I'd like to ask you, you selected, you keep your hands together, and you selected a lady, a married lady, to come. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Srimate Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Namane Sri Vasamali Devi Chaitanya Sri Prabhupada Krishna Sambandha Vigyana Gayane Prabhupada Namaha Maruja Dura Premadya Sri Rupadoka Bhaktida Sri Gaura Sarva Shakti Vijaya Namaste Namaste Gauravani Sri Morte Nane Rupadoka Virudapa Siddhanta Gwanta Mare Isharaya Vairagya Murtaye Viprabhava Rasambode Padem Murtaya Te Namaha Swaha Swaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Ruparupaya Jayate Swaha Swaha Gaura Nirvava Ume Swami Dirgaka Sajna Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Sri Jagannataya Te Namaha Swaha Swaha Vanchakapa Vaishya Vipatitu Devasha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Swaha 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 Namo Namaha Varanaya Krishna Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namaste Krishna Panchatattva Atmakam Krishna Bhaktarupa Srupakam Bhaktavatanam Bhaktyakam Tamami Bhaktashaktikam Swaha Hare Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopikakanta Radhakanta Namostute Jayatam Sadato Patergati Matsarasa Padam Rojo Radha
actually it's better if you sit over here, because finally, at the end of this function, what we'd like everyone to do is stand up when we're completing it and circumambulate this fire by coming around. We'll move in these flagpoles, and then everyone will rise up, and then we'll walk around the fire. We can go around the fire 3 times. Everyone present here can do that also. So while we're beginning the installation ceremony here, we'd like all of you to chant along with the bhajan. So thank you again, and we'll wait for Tamal Krishna to be present. Thank you. I have this handheld mic if you like. Kind of hard. That way one mic stand. Okay, then just...
Sit there, go to sit there. Om Ketanandasya Jananjana Sadakaya Chaksuru Militanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Shadati Swampadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yataka Tamam Sri Guru Vaishnavascha Sri Rupa Sarupam Sakajatam Sadhaganavatam Nitam Stritam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalitam Sri Prashada Master. So we are gathered today before their lordships, Sri Sri Radha Chanchi, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, Sri Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra Devi, Sri Sri Govintai, His Khan's Guru Parampara, His Khan's founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, and the assembled Vaishnavas. And we are praying for their mercy on the occasion of the auspicious reception of Gayatri Mantra. Today, all of you, nearly all of you, except for one of you, is getting your second initiation. When Srila Prabhupada introduced second initiation into ISKCON, it created many waves of objection in India, because Srila Prabhupada was awarding Gayatri Mantra and the sacred thread of the status of a Brahmin to initiates who were not born in Brahmin families. I was with Srila Prabhupada in Hyderabad when a group of Brahmins came and protested and argued with Prabhupada that he was spoiling the Vedic culture by doing this. For those of you who some of our guests today, let me explain. The word Brahmin has now entered into the English language. I think in Texas there are Brahma bulls, aren't there? So that's Brahma bulls and Brahmins and Brahman, they're all connected. Brahman means the highest truth, the ultimate reality, or God. And a Brahmin is one, or Brahmana, is one who knows the truth about God. It's called a Brahman. Traditionally, in India, Brahmins were engaged in teaching and in the priesthood. And it was normally considered a hereditary affair. If your father was a Brahmin, then you were a Brahmin. However, that's one tradition. From the Bhagavad Gita, we read a verse which states, Chaturvarnam maya shristam guna karma vibhavashana. Chaturvarnam, before varnas, before occupational divisions of society. Society was divided into four categories, and it resembles something that you see in the Middle Ages in the West. And Middle Ages, the very word Middle Ages sounds like, something that has been relegated to the dustbin, because Middle Ages has no bearing any longer on our modern age. Be that as it may, the categories were intellectuals, administrators, farmers and merchants, and workers, laborers. And these four were related to the body, our bodies. The head, the arms, the belly, and the legs. So the example is given that the Brahman is like the head of society. Now you know very well that it's possible to live, not very comfortably, but it is possible to be without legs. Some people don't have the use of their legs. It's possible that you might have your arms. It's even possible that you could live without a stomach. But have you ever heard of anyone live without their head? No. So a society that is headless has got a lot of problems. And therefore, we would say that one of the problems in the world today is that it's like a headless society. It is a society without proper spiritual direction. Now, I understand that in the United States, for example, a large percentage of the population, almost more than in most developed countries, believe in God. And that is a fact, and it's a great credit to the people of America. But belief in God, to have belief or faith in God, it's good to have absolute, unflinching faith, but it helps if the faith is not blind, if there's some knowledge or wisdom that goes along with the faith. So, one of the problems today with religion is that it is not always with, I hesitate to say this, but I will say that it can at times be a type of blind faith. And a Brahmin is a person who should have faith in God, but also be well aware of the science of God. Particularly in India, we say that the heads of society spiritually were Brahmins. There are many different sects or religious groups in India. This temple follows what is called Vaishnavism. That we believe in one Supreme Lord. And particularly, we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas, so we believe that one Supreme Lord is Krishna. Krishna and his pleasure potency, Srimati Radharani, or Radha Krishna, who have appeared more recently in the combined form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So one who is a Brahmin should be conversant with the knowledge of Krishna. That means Sambandha Jnana. Sambandha in logic or in an argument means the subject which is under discussion. And Abhideya is the process by which you prove your argument. And Prayojana means the conclusion, what will come as a result of having proven your argument. So, if the Vedanta Sutra says, Akarta Brahma Jignasa, now is the time to understand the absolute truth, then the subject which is under discussion is Brahma, or what is spirit, what is the nature of God. And the means to come to that understanding is Bhakti. And the result of gaining that knowledge is, or understanding, is prema, or love for God. Having said all of this, a Brahmin should be conversant with Sambandha Jnana, or knowledge about the subject of Krishna. A Brahmin should be conversant with the means of bhakti. We know that Bhakti has 9 different angas, beginning with Shravanam, Kirtanam. A Brahmin should be expert in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. And finally, now we come to the next point. That when Prabhupada gave this Brahmin status, he was doing what his Guru Maharaj had done, because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also awarded Brahmin status to so many different persons. Now there is a reason for this. The fact of the matter is that although traditionally the Brahmins were considered the head of society, amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the position of a Vaishnava was considered superior to the position of a Brahmin. Now one of our disciples, Jai Gopal, is he here? But he's going to be going to TCU, to Bhaktivedanta School, and he hopes to do his master's thesis on the subject of Brahmins and Vaishnavas. That's part of the thesis. The point being that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur very vigorously fought for the point of making that Vaishnavas, to be a servant of God, a Vaishnava, is a superior position to being simply a Brahmin. Now, the question may be asked, therefore, what is the need of this Brahmin initiation? One of the reasons that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and also Bhaktivedanta Thakur, but particularly Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, wanted to award Brahmin status was to give respect to the Vaishnavas. Because at the time, the temples and religion in general in the area where they were preaching was controlled by Brahmins by birth. And they were taking undue advantage of people in various ways. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to establish the point that when one is Vaishnava, a true Vaishnava, then automatically they are a Brahmin. They have all the good qualities of a Brahmin, Suchinam, and all of the qualities which are mentioned in the 18th chapter of the Gita. They're pure, they're knowledgeable, they're realized, they're sense controlled, they're tolerant. So many good qualities are there in Vaishnava. On the other hand, someone might be a Brahmin and may not have the devotion to God that a Vaishnava has. And therefore, Vaishnava's position is superior to a Brahmin. But in order to give proper respect to the Vaishnava community, because people gave so much respect to Brahmin status, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to award the initiates with Brahmin status. Furthermore, he wanted them to do the worship of the Vigraha, the deity in the temple. And for this purpose, the second initiation, or the Gayatri mantras, were helpful. And so, following Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada, our founder, has introduced the system of giving the Gayatri mantras. There are, in our tradition, in our sampradaya, in our line, we give 7 mantras. One is the Brahma Gayatri that is traditionally chanted by all of the different twice-born persons in India. Again, generally women were not given these mantras. Women were not awarded Brahma Gayatri. And if their husband was a Brahmin, then they were considered Brahmin. Now, these things are changed in our present-day world, where everybody is treated individually. But this was the tradition. Besides that mantra, there are 2 mantras to the Guru, 2 mantras to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and 2 mantras to Krishna, Radha Krishna. So 7 altogether, 7 Gayatri mantras are chanted. And they are to be chanted in the morning at sunrise. At midday, morning generally we face east to the sun. Midday facing east, and then again in the evening time when the sun sets. And those who are given Brahmin status are expected to bathe at least twice, if not thrice in a day. Of course, it depends on the climate. If you're in a very cold climate, you may not be able to bathe as often. But at least twice a day, if not thrice. So one of the important principles, essential principles of the Brahmin, is that they're very clean. They must be very clean. And the second thing is they must be very regulated. They should also be knowledgeable. Sometimes in India you can see that some Brahmins, or at least people with a Brahmin thread, are pushing a tanga with their head. Means they're pushing a heavy cart with their head, doing the work of labor. Why are they wearing the Brahmin thread? Because their family tradition is that they're Brahmins. But to get a thread, you can go and purchase it in the marketplace for a few paisa, a few pennies. That doesn't make you a Brahmin. As Prabhupada would often state, if your father is or if your mother nowadays is a justice in the Supreme Court, does it mean you're automatically a justice in the Supreme Court? No, you have to qualify yourself. So it's not enough that you can claim by birth that I'm a Brahmin. The quality has to be there. It's very interesting to note that Lord Brahma, and there's no bigger authority than Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma himself, although he was born from Vishnu, still had to receive the second initiation. So there is some value. Is the second initiation more important than the first? There's different opinions about this. Sometimes people say it is. In fact, it is called Diksha. And the first initiation is not called Diksha. And the word Diksha means initiation. So in a traditional sense, the initiation by the second initiation would be considered the actual initiation. However, because the holy name of Krishna is non-different than Krishna himself, and is all one requires for going back to Godhead, the first initiation, or Harinam, is considered amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas to be more important. Because even without second initiation, one can go back to Godhead, one can develop love of God. But without the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, there's no possibility. At least it is stated, Harinama, 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 Kevalam, Bhagavana, Seva, Seva, Seva. There's no other way in this age to get love for Krishna, Krishna Prema, except for Harinama. So we give more importance to Harinama. But the second initiation assists the first, and therefore it is helpful. But it is not essential, but it is helpful. So these are the important points. What should you do when you chant these mantras? You have to meditate according to the mantra. First of all, after the fire sacrifice, I will give each person here their individual mantras, and we'll see. Maybe we'll do it here, or we might just, I'll have to think. We might go up to my quarters where it'll be a little quiet, because there'll be, once the yajna is finished, there'll be the arti. So I want to make sure everybody hears the mantra properly. When you get the mantra sheet, you have the, oh yeah, there was only one. Put it on. When you get these mantras, you should memorize them and then meditate on them. Means you meditate on the sound and on the meaning of the words. So first to the sun. because the sun gives light. Then to the Guru, and then to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then to Krishna. And in each case, there are exoteric and esoteric meanings to these mantras. There's a direct meaning, which is clear from the words, and then gradually there are also internal understandings which can be given by Guru for how to understand each of these mantras. That is to say, if our goal is Krishna, and if our goal is Krishna Prema, and if our goal is Krishna Prema in a certain mood of Krishna Prema, then how the sun helps one to come closer to Radha Krishna, how Guru helps one to come closer to Radha Krishna, how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does so, and how Krishna himself does so in the forms of Madan Mohan, Govindadev, and Gopinath. And finally, how Krishna is Kamadevaya. He is the transcendental God of love who shoots his arrows into the hearts of his dear devotees and captivates all of their senses. All of these meanings have to gradually be understood with the help of the spiritual master. If the spiritual master can give guidance to his disciples in each of these mantras, then you can understand that there's so many internal meanings that can be taken from each of these mantras as well. So that can happen in a more private meeting. Now, today we are also giving first initiation to one of our young ladies, Gayatri, who is the one of our children who has been born. She is no longer a child, but born in Krishna Consciousness. Her father is Rohini Nandan, and her mother is Lakshmi Priya. And she has brothers and sisters who are all nice devotees. And I think that this is a very outstanding example. She is one of our first young devotees to come to the point of initiation. And I hope that her example will be followed by others. She's only 12 years old. I think she's the youngest person that I have given initiation to. She has that record. Prabhupada did say when they turn her age they can get initiated, but I have been usually more cautious. But I feel quite confident that because of her parents' training and her parents' care for her, and her own seriousness, that she will keep up her vows. Otherwise, I'm always very doubtful about initiating anyone too young, because when they go through their teenage years, they go through a lot of changes. So I hope you are not going to play any tricks on me. I asked her whether she wanted her name changed. She did want to change, even though her mom wants her name. And even though on her legal name and her bank account, her name is Gayatri Devi. But she wants her name changed by the Guru. So she gets to have a legal name as Gayatri. She'll have to get both. 2 for the price of 1. So you have to give me a moment of reflection here. I have to discuss with concerned with them, sure that they're pleased with the choice. Aren't the deities very beautiful today? They always are, but it's easy sometimes to see one another time. It's a festival for the eyes to look at Radha Kalachandji. Ramanuja, are you getting captivated by these deities? It's going to be hard to leave them and go back to Mumbai. Very good. Okay, you can come up here now. When someone gets their first initiation, they are given a set of japa beads chanted on by the spiritual master, and they're also given a new name. Muhammadji, are you going to be here playing? There it is, right here. You want to be right next to me? That's better, I think. If the kirtan comes over here, the harmonium and the mridanga, then we'll do what we did during the wedding. Now, please tell us, what are the 4 principles that you promise to follow? She said, no meat, fish, or eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex life. And every day you will chant how many rounds? 16 rounds. Your name is Gopi Krishna Devidasi. So now we're going to throw the rings every time I say Swaha. You've all done ashram, right? Okay, then you all repeat after me. We can have some kirtan while we're chanting. Where's the seventh one? Like this. Shri Guru Krishnaya, Govindaya, Namo Namaha, Namo Brahmanya, Devaya, Gopramanya, Hitaya Cha, Jagat Hitaya, Krishnaya, Govindaya, Namo Namaha, Namo Brahmanya, Devaya, Gopramanya, Hitaya Cha, Jagat Hitaya, Krishnaya, Govindaya, Namo Namaha. Raise the banana one by one. Krishna
Do you think you're special?